What is up, guys? It is Jacob from QuadHunting, and this is the first of, sadly, many 2017 Lions offseason needs. We have a lot of needs going into this offseason. Even though we were a playoff team, we kind of just scraped by and got in there. Anyways, these are going to highlight some of the needs that I see as prevalent and needed to be addressed fairly quickly into the offseason, whether it be free agents or the draft. So, yeah, this is the first one, and this is for right tackles. The offensive line this year was kind of a sticking point for the Lions. We started out with Decker at left and Reef at right, which actually ended up working pretty well. Reef was never a bad left tackle. He was just kind of middle of the road, mediocre at left tackle. But at right tackle, you got to see a little bit more of his potential. I thought. I think he plays better on the right side. He has more of the mindset to play the right tackle. Left tackle Decker held his own. He played pretty brilliantly there. Hopefully that is the left tackle of the future with him. But switching up guards a couple times, Swanson going down and having to move Glasgow from left guard back to center. Larry Warford's also a free agent. Right guard will be addressed in this as well. But I feel like right tackle, it could go either way. It could go something that it's a huge need and we need to address it, because I don't want to go into the training camp with Cornelius Lucas and Corey Robinson? I think it's Corey Robinson. Like two guys who are pretty untested at right tackle. I mean, yes, they're the cheap option right now, but I do not feel comfortable going into the training camp next year with just those two at right tackle. So these are the free agents, and then after free agents, we'll get into the draft, the players who have declared for the draft and that I think are worth, because through each need, I have highlighted players. Like if it's for a backup quarterback, I'm not highlighting a first round quarterback. I'm highlighting a late round quarterback, someone who can potentially go undrafted to compete with Jake Rudock, but that'll be in a different video. That'll be more towards closer to the draft, since it's not a huge need. But I feel like I said, right tackle is a huge need. If Riley Reef does not resign, or if Riley Reef doesn't resign, it's a huge need. But if he resigns, I think then it goes almost to a minuscule need. It's not something that we need to really address with a high draft pick or a huge priced free agent. So moving into the list of free agents, I don't list these in any number order, like who I want or who's going to cost more. These are just guys that I think can plug and play right away. But starting off with Riley Reef, that would probably be the best thing right now, is to get Reef back. He's not the most talented guy on the free agent market, but he is probably he can come right back. He knows the system. He knows the guys. It'd be the easiest to get him back in. And the only problem, though, is going to be pricing. If he views himself as a left tackle, which left tackles get paid more, and I honestly wouldn't expect him to come back to play right tackle for right tackle money. I think he's going to try to chase that left tackle contract, and the Lions just can't match it with how many needs they have this year. They can't afford to pay a right tackle, left tackle money right now. But we've seen crazier things happen in free agency. Some guys will take the hometown discount to come back, but I don't think the Lions are a team you sign a hometown discount contract for. That's if you want to play for any of the teams in the South, like a Miami Dolphins or Houston Texans, maybe, where it's warmer. Football season most of the time takes place during the cold, crappy time of the year. Or you'd sign one with like a Green Bay Packers because it's a team with so much prestige and history. So I don't think the Lions are a team you sign a hometown discount with, but you never know. He is 28 years old. He's familiar with the system, but he's going to get paid more just because he's versatile and can play left tackle and right tackle. So Sport Track has I get all my contract information from Sport Track. They put out the potential contracts these guys could sign based on how they played and how people who signed contracts that were similar ages and versus how they played, and they make the potential contract off that. And Reef's is 4 years, 21.4 million-ish. It's right around there. Which I actually think is not bad. That's about $5 million a year comes out to. 5.25 million a year, which I think is pretty much a good deal for Reef to play right tackle. But like if he gets that left tackle money, you could see that contract up into the 30 millions. And that's not a guy I want the Lions to get in a bidding war for. He's good at right tackle, but there's other options versus you don't want to pay, like I said, a right tackle, left tackle money. Moving on, this is one of the better free agents in the class, but I don't really expect him to hit free agency. But like I said, it's a crapshoot. Anyone could hit free agency. It just depends on how the teams view their players. But Ricky Wagner, who plays for the Baltimore Ravens, I think is a guy who's going to be really highly sought after. He, since coming into the league in 2013, has only gotten better. He's 27 years old. He's still relatively young in football terms, and but he's looking at a 4-year, $27.6 million contract. He was graded out all over the place, especially at Pro Football Focus, higher than Riley Reef. So the extra $6 million over 4 years, I think you can justify if you're getting a better player. But I don't know. I don't think the Ravens are going to let him hit free agency. I think he's going to be one that stays with the Ravens. But the next guy is Andrew Whitworth from the Cincinnati, not Cleveland. I'm so sorry, Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bengals. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum. He's towards the end of his career. He's 35 years old. Right now, at this point, he would be viewed as a guy you bring in who could provide solid play at right tackle for a couple years while you draft someone. So this is a guy that if you're going in with just Whitworth, you're probably going to be in some trouble. You want to then pair him up with a drafted player who could then learn from him and get the ropes and then take over, kind of like a Swanson did with Raiola and Reef did with Backus. That's a guy you don't want to just depend on at 35 years old. He'd definitely be the veteran presence in that locker room. The Lions don't really have I don't think they have a single offensive lineman over the age of 30 in the locker room. So he'd definitely come in and be the veteran presence right off the bat. The Sport Check didn't have any contract information for him, which I thought was interesting. But he has definitely been a guy who's been paid a lot over his career. He's been a good left tackle. Then the Bengals switched him over to right tackle. But he has stated he wants left tackle. He wants to play left tackle again. So I don't know if the Lions will be able to get him just because of that. So right now, like I said, the best option right now is Wagner, but Reef coming back I'd be totally fine with that. Another guy is Matt Khalil. He was drafted the same year as Riley Reef in 2012. Sport Trek, I think, is way overpricing him. He's coming out to 4 years, $28.4 million, which is just above $7 million a year. I think that's way overpriced for a guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries and for a guy the Vikings have pretty much almost given up on. And with that Vikings offensive line, and they're giving up on a guy, that's saying something. He would definitely be the reclamation project. That's a guy, maybe he just needs a change of scenery and he could play better. But I'm a little more hesitant about him. He is still 27 years old. He could bounce back, and get playing like he was in college in the first season in the NFL. Like I said, I'm not signing him for a $7 million a year contract. He's definitely $3 million a year maybe because of the injuries and the inconsistent play. But $7 million, no, that's definitely a deal breaker for me. The last guy I've highlighted from the free agents, this free agent class for tackles is pretty weak. It's just pretty much top heavy, and then you got a bunch of just guys who are going to come in and be depth guys you don't want to be starters. But I have Mike Reimers as the last free agent guy. He has pretty much been a journeyman stopgap wherever he's been. He's not been a guy that a team is really stuck with. He's 27 years old. He was undrafted in 2012. And I think you could get him for about what he got for his last contract, which was 1 year, $2.5 million. I think if you got him, and then, like I said, with Whitworth, you drafted a guy to then take over for him, like maybe middle of the season, or at least compete with him, I would be pretty comfortable with that option. That's probably I'm thinking that's going to be the most likely option for our right tackles this year. Is we're going to try to, if we can't get Reef back, which is looking more and more like we're not going to be able to, we're going to get somebody who can come in and will just compete with a rookie, because I don't think they really view Cornelius Lucas and Corey Robinson as guys who can take over right tackle. So we'll have to see how it goes. But moving on to the drafted players, or draftable players, I have there's got four guys, mostly top end draft. The top three guys are guys who will go in the first 2 rounds, and I got one guy who should be going later in the draft, but that I view as who will come in and be starters, or will either sit behind a guy like a Whitworth or someone like that, or compete. But number one, we have Cam Robinson, the guard or the tackle out of Alabama. He comes in at 6'6", 226 pounds. I went to NFL.com and just got some of their draft profiles, so I didn't grab the whole thing because it would take me forever to read through all that on this. But what I have is that he was a five-star recruit, and he was a 3-year starter at left tackle who is a road grader with impressive power at the point of attack and enough athleticism to function in diverse run schemes. The Lions have stated they want to build a running team, that they don't want to have to rely on Stafford to do everything. They want to build the team around him, and that starts with the offensive line. Our offensive line was not very good at running the ball or run blocking at all last year. And so if you get a Cam Robinson, that's a guy who can definitely just come in and will be that road grader that you want at right tackle, who's powerful at the point of attack, like they say here. Robinson has tape galore against SEC talent, edge talent, either playing in the NFL or who will soon be. That's always good. The SEC it's the pinnacle of college football still, sadly. But that is where, a lot of these, the Jadeveon Clowneys, and there's a lot of guys who I can't think of right now off the top of my head, but they came from the SEC, and that Cam Robinson has blocked. Maybe not Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know if their college careers overlapped, but they're just a bunch of guys that are in the NFL now who were edge rushers in the SEC conference that he has played against and has held his ground decently enough. The tape shows a player with traits and physical ability to be a good NFL tackle, but his balance issues and consistencies as a pass rusher are concerned. I assume that means pass blocker, are concerned. He's a candidate to be overdrafted due to his position he plays and his size, but buyer beware, as some of his deficiencies might not be easily correctable. You think you can maybe work on the balance, the issues, and his inconsistencies, and with coaching, maybe that it'll be you could build it up, but he's definitely. I kind of remember some things coming out about Taylor Decker, though, last year around this time, that he was not going to be a guy who was going to be a left tackle. He was better suited to be the right tackle and played left tackle brilliantly last year, held his own. So, it's just, you need the right coaching staff around you. And one thing with Caldwell, he might not be the most fired up guys, but he always has his players' backs. And so maybe that can help him get those inconsistencies figured out, become a better pass blocker. Definitely be stepping into the right locker room to learn how to become a better pass blocker. But this is personally my favorite guy from the draft, just because his name it's like just the perfect offensive lineman name. Ryan Ramczyk from Wisconsin comes in at 6'6", 314 pounds. Wisconsin is known for all the offensive linemen they just crank out all the time. It's an offensive lineman factory, just pretty much like Penn State is a tight end or a linebacker factory. And you got these teams kind of almost specialize in not one position, but one group of positions, and they're really good at it. Alabama's got like the defensive line. A lot of guys come out of Alabama from the defensive and the offensive lines. They're kind of like the trench factory. You don't usually get a lot of skilled players from Alabama. I know you got like Julio Jones, but usually their quarterbacks aren't coming into the NFL and setting it on fire. But they come in and usually be good backups. But Wisconsin is the offensive line factory in the nation. They always are cranking out the good offensive linemen. And so what we have is an extremely confident tackle with athleticism to stay on the left side and technique that can make an early impact as a starter. That's perfect. Ramczyk has the core strength and the body control that should keep him connected to blocks in both the run game and pass, and he's proven to be scheme versatile with his playing style. Ramczyk is an early starter with potential to become a good starting left tackle, provided his medicals hold up. Now, this is the one thing that I think could knock him out of the first round and potentially out of the second round, is he's having arthroscopic surgery on a torn labrum in his hip that he suffered in the last game of the season in the bowl game. He's expected to miss the combine as well as pro day workouts due to the recovery. Say what you want about the combine and pro days, but I think they hold too much weight. The 40 times aren't as special as people want to make them out to be. A guy who can run, there's not much difference between a guy who can run a 4.36 and a 4.44. Especially because they're running in shorts and t-shirts. You're never running in shorts and t-shirts just for 40 yards on the NFL stage. You're running in pads, and it could be an 80-yard run. It could be just a 3-yard run. You want to show good. I think the ones that are good show the good measures are the ones that show good burst and good like power at the point of attack, like more of the lineman's drills. But the ones that the measurable ones, the bench press, the 40-yard dash, the vertical jump, I think are a little more overhyped than they need to be. I don't think that should not be the only thing that you look at as where to draft these guys. And so I think with him missing the combine and missing his pro day, I think that will knock him down. It's the same thing that Jake Butt from Michigan is going to have to go through. He was tore his ACL in the last game. He could not be ready by the beginning of the NFL season. So, you got these guys who they get hurt and then they can't produce. They had good college careers. They get hurt towards the end, and then NFL teams are more hesitant to sign them. But you get guys like Hill, from the wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs, who I didn't hear much about before in college until he got charged with, I think it was domestic violence. Teams kind of held back, but then the Chiefs grabbed him, and now they're like seen as these, wow, they got this guy who in the 5th round produced for them huge, versus where you get a guy who's been injured and teams are just like, I don't really want to touch that. They could get injured again. But a guy who hits his wife or hits his girlfriend or whatever, yeah, we'll kick you just later. Okay, I don't know really where that was going, but 2 more guys to go through. I have Garrett Bowles from Utah, who's 6'5", 300 pounds. He's only played 1 year of FBS football, so that's always a little. He came in from playing like at the community college level and then the FCS level, and he hasn't been able to fully fill out his frame over the last 5 years. Boyles will require a projection and conjuncture than most of the tackles in this year's draft, just because there's not so much tape on him. He clearly has elite athletic ability and foot quickness, but his lack of core strength and his ability to sustain blocks against power across from him is a concern at this time. While he has potential for a zone blocking scheme, his floor will be a little lower than you'd like in an early round pick. That just means his floor right now is probably sitting at backup, where you got a guy like Ramczyk who could probably be instant starters, kind of his floor, a good starter, whereas Boyles is a backup. I like him. I think guys who haven't played football for so long have kind of worked out good for the Lions, Ziggy Ansah, but I think he's a guy you could develop. He'd be a guy that'd be good to take if you got a Whitworth or a Reamers or another journeyman type stopgap guy to come in and compete with him. I think he could definitely, that'd be where he would excel. If you bring him in just to be he's the anointed starter right off the bat, I think you might have issues with him. But just let him compete with some of the guys, and I think he would excel there. He's definitely a guy who I think his stuff is coachable, but like I said, Ramczyk right now is my top draft guy. If we're going to draft someone, I want it to be Ramczyk. Last, we get into Antonio Garcia from Troy, 6'6", 296 pounds. This is a guy who'll be drafted later, probably 3rd, maybe 4th round. Consistently playing below 300 pounds, his lanky frame is the first thing that gets noticed, but his positive attributes show up on tape more than his weaknesses. So he can play good enough to where it overshadows his weaknesses. Mass and functional strength are concerns, and he still needs plenty of technical work, but a team could look to draft and stash him based on his starter's traits and abilities. He's going to be a guy who comes in later, more like a Graham Glasgow, who, maybe middle of the year he will take over for a guy who may be struggling, but I think he could be a guy who the Lions could draft and could have decent success with. That's really all I have. There's not really. There's good top end right tackles in both the draft and the free agency this year, but it kind of tails off after that. Like a lot of these guys I got, like Andrew Whitworth, Matt Khalil, Robinson, Ramczyk. These are guys who were left tackles, and you're going to be making the switch to right tackles, and that's not always a guaranteed thing to work out well. So, there's really pure pro right tackles just aren't definitely this year aren't on the market as much. So that is right tackles. I'm gonna have a mess editing this one, but if you like the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave comments on some other prospects you guys think that could be worth looking at, or some free agents who are worth looking at, and I will probably be re-updating this one in closer to the draft after free agency, depending on if we got Ratherbeef back or if we signed someone like a Wagner or Whitworth, Khalil, Reimers, something like that. I'll then rework it, so then it'll have. Plus, then after the combine and after pro days is usually when you get a good feel for where guys are going to go in the draft. So this will probably be re-uploaded towards the draft, but I wanted to get something out there for right now because free agency is coming up in the next month. So yeah, the next one coming out, I think it's going to be D tackles, D ends. It's going to be one of those two. So stay tuned, and that should be out soon. So until then, I will see you guys later.
Offseason.